Hey, hello, Russ on the West Ham Network. Hope you're safe and well. I wasn't planning to do a. I'm still I don't feel very well at all. But do you know what? In terms of what's happened over the last 12 hours, 24 hours, something like that, it got me off my sick bed. It got me off my sick bed. Holly will be back today with a daily show, and with a Hammers headlines, and I should be right and rain for tomorrow. But I mean, the thumbnail says it all. You know, not even deal, no deal. And it's obviously, unless you've been under a rock the last few hours, in terms of like from about 4 o'clock yesterday onwards, it's just imploded. The world has imploded when it comes to West Ham and transfers. It started with the tweet from Fabrizio Romano basically saying that Carlos Borges. I don't need to know probably how I don't need to care now how to pronounce his name, to be honest, because he's looks like he is all but sealed with a deal to Ajax, which just swooped in like that. And then further sort of information came through that actually he wasn't one of Moyes' targets, and it seems that Moyes is as kiboshed it, which was very frustrating. It's a signing that I think the fan base were really excited about. It was something different. It was something new. Something looking forward to the future, and you know it sort of came to an end almost as soon as it came to pass, really, because it was Thursday before last that just actually joined a live show. The tweet came from Bridget Romano, say £14 million of West Ham being agreed, and then it went on and on and on, and then there was talk of the buyback option being a sticking point, and there was talk of him being on holiday, which again is a bit of a falsity because Antonio's back training, and he was off for almost an identical period to Carlos Borges as well. So that itself sort of curtailed that one, and then out of the blue, Ajax have swooped in and managed to get a deal done very, very sharpish. Whether they've had it agreed for a while with his agent, we do not know. But Sean Sean Wheatston said that on Twitter that basically he wasn't a Moyes signing, and apparently we're haggling about agent fees and whatever. It's just ridiculous. It is ridiculous. You either have one clear strategy or you don't, and it's this muddled situation that we've been in since beginning of July. In all honesty, now I fully expect us to probably get someone like Damari Gray instead. Do you know what I mean? In terms of someone who's Premier League proven, and he's 27, he's probably going to cost maybe a couple of million cheaper than Borges, but it doesn't matter about that. It's the principle of this Borges deal. And the trouble is, it's the way we've got this sort of situation in terms of our sort of, it's a puzzle. It's a puzzle which we haven't figured out yet. You've got Moyes, he's one piece of the pie, isn't he? And obviously, we were assuming that Newman wasn't around anymore, and then we got word that actually it's quite the contrary. In fact, Newman and Moyes are both working together on transfer targets and continue to do so. It's business as usual for Rob Newman. And then you've got the Stidham factor in. Now it seems that all of his, well, by what we've been led to believe, all of his transfer targets are being poo-pooed by Moy, being vetoed, and in favour of Premier League ready ones. But even those are being lowballed. So it's almost like, and then you've got Mark Noble in the equation as well, who very much is on the side of Steiner. It's almost 2v2, and Sullivan's doing negotiations. So Christ. Christ help us! It's the worst episode of Brady Bunch ever. And when you look at how many players other sides have signed, sides who will be our rivals in the league. I think in the likes of, if you sort of look at sort of the top 7-8, you've got Lee, or even below that, you've got Villa. They buying some great players. Brighton are buying. You've got, going further down, Fulham. I don't think Fulham are going to have a great year, but they're buying. Get further down, and the likes of Burnley, Luton, Sheffield United, they're all buying. and we haven't bought a single player, despite the fact that we are in a relatively cash-rich position, aren't we? I mean, the fact is we've got 105 million pound in the bank. Everyone knows we've got 105 million pound bank. Regardless of that, we should have. I mean, you'd imagine there was the prize money. We went for the prize money in terms of what we were going to get for winning the conference, plus also guaranteed money for the group stage Europa League. We obviously can borrow off that as well, like we always do. Like we always borrow off the TV money the season before. So you got to think we've 100, maybe up to 150 million pounds probably in the back, at least 105, and you think with everything else, you reckon 150 million, without being in debt, really, or particularly at least 105 for sure. Then you look at Aaron Cresswell, sell of Aaron Cresswell potentially. We've got Lanzini. We're going to sell Vlasic. You got to think, Antonio to Everton potentially. You've got Skamaka and everything to do with Inter Milan at the moment. So, first it seems like the last one to leave, switch the lights off. It's going to be me. I think it's going to be me at London Stadium by the looks of it. But that money's just sitting there. That money is just sitting there. Now, there's two. One is we're in really shit creek without a paddle financially, and actually the Declan Rice is plugging a hole. But then, to be honest, we haven't heard any of the contrary from the money men. Like not even sort of West Ham people like Kean Maguire, for example, the football finance expert, hasn't mentioned anything about that at all. And we've seen by the books, Sean did a bit on 6'2", that the books relatively okay. Holly did a thing about FFP, so I can't see any. We haven't had a massive, obviously we had the massive influx of signings coming in, 180 million pounds. Some people said maybe the Declan Rice money was already spent on that, but nothing that we've been led to believe. So, again, until that comes out, we don't know, do we? So the assumption is we've still got this money, but it doesn't seem to be going anywhere. You look at, and then to follow that, you get situations like this. So literally, they had the whole thing. The Twitter melted down yesterday around Carlos's impending move to Ajax, and then within 20 minutes, there was tweets like this for Carve saying West Ham decided to. First, it was the bottom one. So the bottom one was like an hour. West Ham is made. It's being progress is being made in talks with West Ham to sign James Ward-Prowse. Deal is getting closer. And then an hour later, literally, not even that. I think it's about 15 minutes, but by the time the Twitter did it all this, I think when I screenshotted it originally, it was an hour and 45 minutes. West Ham decided to walk away from a deal from James Ward-Prowse. They feel Southampton now asking too much, so they'll be looking elsewhere. We're going to be end up paying £40 million for James Ward-Prowse. I'm telling you this now because we're getting desperate now. We are getting desperate. You go for the list of players that we've been linked with, or we've had bids rejected with. I did it on the old WhatsApp. I should have done a little picture. That'd be nicer. Borges, no. Maguire, no. Barnes, no. JWP, no, twice. McTominay, no. Gallagher, no, twice. Alex Scott, no. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players. That's 7 players. Now, ironically, thing, the type of the money that you get with that, you could easily go and buy Fofana and Harwa Bellis and Jonathan Tah and Zakaria, and they may well come in, but it's not looking good, is it? It's not looking good, is it? And we've been linked to 125 players. We haven't put bids in for 125 players. Probably put bids for about 6 or 7 players by the looks of it and what we've heard. There was an article in the Scottish Sun by who's the journalist? I've literally just read this now. That's why I've jumped on, because basically was in the Scottish, so the Daily Record has stated that David Moyes is pressing to reach an agreement with Southampton for JWP. He's understood to want him in his squad in order to prepare for West Ham's Premier League opener at Bournemouth in 11 days' time. Moyes has recently appointed Tim Dydon for 2 new midfielders and regards Ward-Prowse as a guaranteed source of Premier League goals. So he wants James Ward-Prowse, but he wants 2 more. Or does he want 2 to say no to so he can go JWP? I don't know. In discussions with the Scottish manager, he's James Ward apparently is understood to have expressed the enthusiasm for a move to London Stadium if West Ham are able to agree financial terms with Southampton, the only club of his career. So he's basically sort of not an ultimatum, but he wants JWP in by the weekend. But we're going to walk away, apparently. So how does that work out? How does that work out? And then Sean puts, where's the latest one? This one? This tweet comes out literally half an hour later saying that Souček and Jarrod Bowen are unlikely to sign new contracts under current leadership structure. Now, Souček, I'm not worried about. And today we're poles apart in terms of paycheck. Pun completely meant there. In that he's currently on 70,000. He wants 100,000. We're not going to give him 100,000. Bowen, on the other hand, very different. And we know he's in conversations to offer a deal, and he's very keen to sign. He is keen to sign, but again, they're a little bit away in valuation, but also in terms of, as Sean's put here, potentially under the current leadership structure. So it's a bit of a cluster, FUCK, to pardon my French at the moment, isn't it? And some people tell me, I think Anton put on his tweet, I've put in a transfer request to another club this season, and I know what you mean. It does seem like that, and it's horrible. It's a horrible time because you just see, and people have likened it to, Leicester last season, when a very similar situation, when literally they were putting not phantom bids, but they were putting bids in for players. They were selling there. They sold Fofana, never replaced him right at the end with Vass. Do you remember Vass, the big guy with crazy Vass? And it's I saw it and I got really angry about it. And for me, again, I think the blame is on. I think it's on everyone. It's on everyone in the club. It's not just Sullivan. It's not just Moyes. It's not just Newman. It's not just Steidten. It's not Noble. But all five of them together. It does stem from the top. It does stem from the top, setting up this committee, this regime. But what I don't understand is those guys are all clever. Oh, they're all football guys. Nose has been playing for 18 years. Steidten's got a pedigree in football. Moyes has managed over 1,000 games. Rob Newman's been in football for decades. Sullivan's a successful businessman. Why these five can't just sort it out? Just sort it out, please. Because we're getting to a situation now where we've got, we are at the moment, the way I'm looking at it, the only way you can go is Premier League ready in terms of being ready for the Bournemouth game. Because, or a significant wage should, percentage of that 100 million should go to Premier League ready players in terms of if you want to get started now. Because yes, I've said this before, it's a balancing act. It really is a balancing act in my eyes. It's, someone suggested in one of the comments of one of the live streams, just split the budget in half and give them half each. I don't think that's a bad bloody idea, I'll be honest. I really don't, because Steidten and Noble will go off and buy, 50 million pounds worth of players. They go and buy Fofana, they go and buy Zakaria, and they'll be ready for 2, 3, 4. They go and buy Alex Scott or whatever. Done. Moyes can go out and buy JWP if he can get him, or Chalobah, or whoever he wants to get. Done. You know what I mean? And then they've got both sides. It's ridiculous, the fact that we've got this situation where we've got two conflicting ideologies. And as I said before, and I said many times, and I always try and find some positives, but at the moment I can't find any positives in this situation at the moment. I can find positives from the academy upwards, but as soon as that we hit the first team, it's just gone crazy, and particularly in the last 24 hours, it's gone even crazier. Something has to happen. And I'm not under the illusion that these guys are sitting there twiddling their thumbs at all. I'm not assuming that they're sitting there, the what was that meme of like the cartoon dog and the whole place is burning around him. I am not on the assumption that they are sitting there, twiddling, swinging, whistling Dixie, whatever it was. Not at all. They are probably I imagine Steidon is pulling his hair out. I imagine Moyes is pulling his hair out as well because the guys he wants he can't get, the guys Steidon can't get, and it's just and when people say people don't want to come to us or things like that, people are going to like clubs which are going to be potentially going to be relegated. Sheffield United's, Wolves. Wolves is in a right shit state, but even they're signing players at the moment. They're bloody want to buy our sort of captain at the moment in terms of Aaron Cresswell. Then you see the whole thing with Gianluca Scamacca. Then you see the whole thing with Antonio maybe going to Everton. Then you whole see then just extra Gerd going to Napoli are looking at him. I can't see that happening, but still, this is building. And then you had the whole thing of Alex Cook, who said that Paqueta was unhappy, and he said fake news. He took to his own Twitter to say it's fake news. I think it was H on Twitter said it's a bit like when you've got a good thing going on and you just keep quiet, and it's almost like I don't want to talk about Paqueta because I don't want noise around Paqueta because actually he's the only chink of armor at the moment we've got, and he'll fuck off soon if he's not happy. He's happy at the moment according to his tweet from Alex Cook rather, but it ain't going to take much, I don't think. To me, it feels like there's going to be a massive change somewhere, and whether it's Steindl walks, Moyes walks, Noble walks, someone is. It seems they've reached an impasse, and if they're not going to lay down their swords and work together, then the only option is that something's got to give, something's got to break. And it's horrible because actually the situation could have worked nice. When Steidon signed, we were all really excited. We thought this is it. We're finally going into a new direction now. But it's not. It's not going in that way yet. And yeah, I understand it can take time. It can definitely take time when you're building something from scratch, and it is. We are building this from scratch. You think of Brighton, Brentford, they've had years of building this infrastructure into place now. And so it's almost like second nature to them. But look at Aston Villa already. Villa, I mean, Emery came in and he has already brought in people like Pau Torres, Diaby from Bayer Leverkusen, some good players. And that's just two. They brought some good players in. And that's what worries me when teams like Villa are outperforming us, and then you look the Brighton outperforming us, I said Wolves. I mean, every team in the Premier League is outperforming us in transfers at the moment. Every team in the Premier League has got one. And I've seen the stat, first, the 2nd of August, I think last year we had 5 players in or 4 players in, something like that. And we've got none. And we haven't got a captain. He should not be named the former captain. So it's not looking fun, is it? It's not looking fun at the moment. Plus, we got played by Leverkusen on Saturday as well. So that'll be interesting, won't it? That'll be interesting. Tim returning back to his old haunt. He can show off all the new signings he's brought in. Can't he? Sean Moore from Cliftonville, and Logan Lard on a loan from on a trial from Stoke City. But that's what I don't get. I don't understand why. I don't get the why. Because if it's people go, oh, it's because for me, if a side isn't performing well, which potentially it's not going to this season, then the value of the club goes down. So if you talk about sale or a new person coming in, that makes no sense. You'd want to be as look as good as possible. I don't know. But it is very frustrating at the moment. And I totally get everyone. And I totally get, because I'm as frustrated as you guys. I really am, because I want to see new players. I want to be excited. At the moment, I've just done my fantasy football league. I haven't got a single West Ham player. Tell I got one. And he ain't gonna start. It's only because he's a good sub. And that's not what I usually do. I put all the new signings in. Last year, I put Scarmacker in, I put Gerd in, and he gets injured, I had to take him out. But regardless of that, I'm not, I'm always optimistic for the season because that's just me as a natural person. But I want everyone else to be more optimistic. I don't want to come on and rant and rave. I want to come on and have a nice stream. I want to talk about all the exciting things, but there's nothing. The only thing exciting at the moment is how I think well organized the academy is at the moment in terms of developing the players. But but that's it. That's it for the moment. That's it for the moment. Something's got to happen by the end of this weekend, isn't it? Something has to, because then we got a week to go, less than a week until we play Bournemouth in the first game. And if they turn us over, God help us when we get to Chelsea, innit? The Chelsea game, Poch's getting a tune out of them as well. So that's typical, isn't it? Anyway, let me know in the comments below. That's been rant over. I'll be back all cheery. That's why I put this shirt on to cheer you guys up a little bit. We've been through it, as a club, and I always say this, we've been through a lot worse. We've still got European football this season. Probably going to be, in all likelihood, probably our last European outing for at least another season. I don't think we'll qualify next season for Europe for the 24-25 season, but another European tour. At least 3 European. No, is it 6? 5 European. I don't know how many teams are in the draw in the group stages. But anyway, let's I'm always the optimist. I know it pisses you off sometimes that I'm optimistic, but I'm a realist as well sometimes. And as I said, I've got off my sick bed just to vent and talk. It's good to talk, as Bob Hoskins used to say, and the old BT adverts. That's an old reference. As I said, if you're new around here, give it a like, give it a comment, give it a share, give it a subscribe. Holly, we're back today with the daily show and also the Hammers headlines. And hopefully I'll be fit and healthy for Thursday. And we'll probably do a lunchtime live, or maybe we do an evening show live as well. So keep an eye on the channel. Take care. Bye-bye. Much love. Come on, you bloody Irons. Come on, 1-1. Come on, we're all together in this.